Welcome to the Compass Method, powered by Purpose and Plants, where science meets soul and thriving begins when you find your true north. Hosted by Dr. Yolanda Rivera-Caudill, a double board certified physician, mother of three, and founder of the Tiny Beat Lifestyle Medicine and Pediatric Clinic, and
Chelsea Dye, a certified lifestyle medicine coach, wellness strategist, and creator of Alchemist Untamed. This show brings the real science to real life, powered by our passion project, Purpose and Plan.
Each episode explores how small shifts in food, movement, mindset, and family life can create massive results. Together, Dr. Yolanda and I share a compass for better life, a grounded guide to plant-forward health, brain-body balance, and modern motherhood.
From pediatric wellness and family health to neuroscience, nutrition, and mindset mastery, we will help you pause with a purpose, align your habits with your values, and rediscover what it means to thrive.
Powered by Purpose and Plants, because thriving begins when you're powered by Purpose and Plants. Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Compass Method. I am Chelsea Dye.
And I'm Dr. Yolanda Rivera-Caudill.
And together we are Purpose and Plants. Purpose, Plants, and the Science of Realignment. We are sharing with you lifestyle medicine tools, tips, and tricks in order for you to live healthier and happier lives. Today we are talking about a topic that is especially important for parents out there. Do as I say, not as I do. The habits, the unexpected habits that our kids get from us without us even realizing.
Yes.
So important. Often the cues that we are giving them are different than what we're saying. So we'll be unpacking.
We're humans.
Yes.
Let me start with that. We're humans. We've all been there.
Exactly. Well, and you know, Dr. Yolanda has a specific background. I'd love for you, if you're joining us for the first time and you don't know her background, specifically with being a mother of three, but also I'll let you share a little bit
Well,
about.
I'm a pediatrician and lifestyle medicine physician, and I own the Tiny Beat. And I've seen kids and babies and families and adolescents for 35 years or
Yes.
so. So, I'm very familiar with this, my personal experience as a mom and as, you know, kids that are part of the family. I've seen it from other people. It's easier to see it and when other people do it than when it happens to you.
Exactly.
But we can all learn. And the idea is not to make you feel like you're doing everything wrong, because again, we're all learning. And actually, one of the things that I like about this, now that I am in a different era than you are, raising kids, mine are all gone, but I still feel that I am teaching them, okay? It's at a different level. At the beginning, I was taking care of their safety. I was guiding them in a different way. I feel like the way I'm teaching them now is with my example even more than ever. It's just the same. It hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Because I want them to learn how to live independent lives, how to be resilient. And it doesn't matter how old you are. You can always learn. I will continue to learn for as long as I live.
Absolutely.
And I want them to learn that lesson.
So, you know, Dr. Yolanda, you're doing a really good job of still continuing on that path of it's active teaching and passive teaching as well. And what we're talking about today is some of the things that we don't even realize as parents. And I'm in the about to have a child go to high school, and I have realized that there are some really important lessons that she's learned from me through modeling. Not only what I verbally said to her, but modeling. And then there are some things that are maybe not as good that she's learned through my modeling, which I did not even realize I was passing on to her. So this is what we're doing, is shining a light on some of the things that are really common challenges that parents have. And just as you said, our goal is to raise resilient children. And most parents don't go into this thinking, oh, I'm going to teach my child how to overindulge in social media. I'm going to tell them not to. But, you know, in fact, some of the things that we do as adults set the kids up for less resilience.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
why modeling matters is because children are learned through observation from young all the way to old, and regulation and repeated experiences that happen within the family unit will shape more than the verbal cues.
Even before they learn to speak, they are already absorbing that the like, no, then don't do that, versus like, oh, I'm open to learn and to explore. And many times, and oftentimes, one of the biggest things is in parenting, I mean, they don't come with instructions. It's very, very hard. So you have to accept and acknowledge and give yourself grace that you're not the only one that don't know what's happening, and having that idea that I have to learn about myself first, and then realize, like my mom was very, I remember she told us one time, she was always so protective of us. Then my dad was more carefree, that she realized that she had to let him do many things that she was afraid of, so that we were not afraid like she was.
Oh, that's such a beautiful lesson.
So, but she acknowledged that. I mean, because she was so protected, that she said, I don't want that. I want them to not fear getting wet in the rain like she was. She couldn't play in the rain because she was gonna get sick.
Well, and that goes to the stress component. Just as you said, there's no guide to parenting, regardless of your stage. And so often when we get stressed, we as adults now, especially, having the privilege of growing up in an era where there wasn't, the stress regulation was different. Now it seems that so many parents will reach for devices or zone out on TV. And technology is one of those big things that as a parent, and we have read all the data and research, and me specifically, that it's an overabundance of screen time is not good. We may be saying that to our children, but then in reality, when we need a moment away, we're picking up our phone, we're sitting in front of the TV, we're at our computer.
Exactly. So recognizing that we're doing that, which is the hardest part, because many times we see that it's harder for the parents to limit the time in the kids, because it's harder for me to do it. So acknowledging that is the first step, and knowing that it's hard, and it's okay. We're all learning.
Some of the times where adults are really looking, and parents are really, or caregivers are looking to their phones, which might have a bigger impact on your child and your family unit than you think, are at dinner. And, phones at dinner, while we may preach as parents that, we want to be aware of our use of social media and our phone time, but then everyone at their next to their table, or even just the parents, I made a rule in my house that no phones at dinner, and that's for both of us.
Yes.
And so, and I did that less for my daughter and more for me, because I realized, well, I can't ask her to do something if I can't do it myself.
And they're missing opportunities. Dinner time is one of the biggest opportunities to discuss. I mean, they might not have mentioned anything, but it's before, when you pick them up, or earlier in the day, but that is a moment where they should be more relaxed and open. And actually, this is a moment that you don't want to bring, that you do your homework, and it should be like a no stress zone type of thing, not touching hard subjects, and more like, today, your day. And if they bring it, it's a different thing.
Well, and it's interesting that you say that, because stress regulation and having a time to connect is so important, but often we lose track of that with running from here to there. I heard something really interesting from a parent who is actually an elite athlete coach, and he was talking about his child, and he's not the coach of his child, but he was talking about how when he picks the child up from practice, does not ask all the questions, but immediately does not go to the phone. He does not, but he just turns on good music, and they just relax for that last 25-minute ride back to the house. And then by minute 10, the child is starting to communicate, but it's not forced. And it's a different form of relaxation than screen time.
I love it.
And I thought, how brilliant for this person who is a coach to realize that is, so that's something that
is
I
a very
took away.
Powerful thing. And the other thing about dinner time, and sometimes families are on the go, think about having a blanket in the car and do a picnic, or just, instead of having the food in a very busy restaurant, if the weather is nice, just sitting outside and having the dinner,
I love that.
Yeah. And this is, without the phones.
Yeah.
Yeah, outdoors, maybe in the picnic table in the park or something. But just think outside of the box. What are the possibilities? Or even if you're home, to make it more fun for the kids, have dinner again on a blanket on the living room.
And so let's think of then about other, so often stress regulation, we're also looking to our phones to regulate our stress, or other maybe less than healthy habits, just like pouring ourselves a glass of wine, and we're sending that cue to our child that that is how we regulate our stress. So,
Yes.
we need, as parents, we need to look at how we can regulate our stress. Group breath work, especially when you have time with your child before dinner, or if you're meal prepping together, or if you're in the car together. Because I think so often we're in the car more than anything else, especially if you have multiple children and they have activities. So thinking of ways that you can regulate your stress together and that you're modeling, or maybe you're not asking your child to participate in your breath work, but you're letting them know that that's what you're doing.
You're modeling. Yes. And kids, exactly. I saw a video the other day on a 4-year-old helping her 2-year-old sibling going up a ladder, and then telling, you can do it, you believe in you. And then she was saying so many encouraging words, and the mom is like, oh my goodness, she's listening to what she's saying to her, and she's teaching that to her sibling. So she hadn't realized how much the impact it has.
Oh,
it was beautiful.
That's so incredible.
Yes. I mean, that's the same thing, whether it's a negative thing or you're so stupid you cannot do it. I mean, just pick up and then just keep doing it. They're learning the same message, whether it's negative or positive. And your voice becomes their voice.
Oh, it's so true. Your voice does become their voice.
Yes.
And so that internal self-talk that we have with ourselves, even if we think that it doesn't seep out, it seeps out into the way we behave with the world. And specifically, I think in family units, when you spend so much time together, often what you say to yourself as a parent, especially if it's not positive, will come out in some variation to your kid during a frustrating state.
One of the saddest things I've seen, and it's worse through the years, is the kids that are 5 or 6-year-olds that are very aware of their weight. They don't need to lose weight. They're have a normal weight, but they look and then they tell, oh, I cannot eat this because I need to, I'm too fat, or I am this, I need whatever. And they might not say it like that, but I don't like the way I look. And might not be the parents, but might be somebody out there, or maybe the other kids, like saying, talking about their weight and they have to lose weight. So we have to be very aware of what they're listening to from us and from other people, and to be able to ask. It's not so much intervene, but ask, what happened? Why? What do you think?
Yeah, and that moment of pause, the power of the pause is really important, because sometimes, just as you said, there's no perfect recipe for parenting. There's no guide. So sometimes you will realize that you've made a little bit of an error as a parent, but instead of being judgmental to yourself as a parent, or snapping at the child, where you say, like, where did you come up with that idea?
Exactly.
Which is kind of a knee-jerk reaction.
That's so stupid. Why? No, you're fine.
Yeah, exactly. Then saying, just as you said, oh, that's interesting. How did you come about that?
Yes.
And, it takes a lot of self-control and restraint from a parent standpoint to come up with that. But that opens lines of communication in a much different way.
Yes.
And let's talk about, like, some food. And I'm jumping around a bit on this, but let's talk about the idea of ultra-processed food being a treat. I think that's a common thing that, we talk about the lifestyle medicine principles, and good nutrition is one of them. And there's a lot of emotions tied up in a lot of in food for people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And one of the common things that I see people say is that they're celebrating something, so they deserve an really sugary, ultra-processed treat. And that celebration is tied to something sweet and sugary.
Or finish, eat your broccoli and then you're going to have a cookie, So the treat, the reward is something that is not healthy, but this is the good thing. So I want that. So I associate that with something that I expect when I have my cookie or my piece of cake or whatever is, is what it's a reward that I should have, I should seek.
Yeah, and I see a lot of adults say that. Oh, I was so good today. I exercised. I've heard a lot of other mothers say, "Oh, I exercised so hard. I deserve this enormous ice cream cone." And first of all, that term deserving, and then the fact that your exercise, which is a privilege when you think about it, that you can move your body and that you can do this for yourself, is the way that we're equating it. That just is something that I think we need to think about, and just same with the idea that you eat your vegetables and then you deserve a sweet treat, or you deserve fast food or whatever it is. I have to say, our body is a temple, and so we eat the broccoli because it makes us strong and vibrant. Yes. And maybe that's the new terminology.
Not that you don't do it, but don't do it as a reward. Don't hype it like this is the ice cream. This is the icing of the cake.
Yeah, right.
This is the most important thing, the pinnacle. Yeah. Yes. So this is what we are looking for, to just finally get the dessert. And then you can have it that the dessert is something healthy too. It doesn't have to be like the dessert is some bad food. But and that's another thing that I don't want to say, like, is it a good food or a bad food? Because then again, it has this connotation.
The value judgment component that we add to food. And I do this in my house as well, because I really want, but I take it down to science, where I have a teenager who rolls her eyes like, really, you're going to tell me again why avocado is so much better for me than XYZ processed food? And I'm like, yes, I am. But part of that is the value judgment can backfire.
No. Yes,
for sure. Especially if you have children that are slightly rebellious. No. It can definitely backfire. Yeah. But even if you think about yourself, if you're value judging, I want to eat things that will nourish me and make me smarter and stronger and live longer and feel good. And that is where I'm coming from.
And especially if that's something that you're pushing, that's something that I don't want.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's weird, because that's what I don't want. So letting the kids, these are the options, and then you eat it or you don't, that's that. But it's not like if you don't eat this, you're going to have the dessert or not. Is there. That's part of what we have. And putting less stress helps everyone.
Well, it does. And also really looking at our language and our language towards our kids and towards ourselves, and with our partner as well. That's a really important thing that we need to look at.
Because sometimes you don't realize that you're doing that. My family, like when my kids were learning, to speak, and my sister one day, she said, but you talk to them in English. You want them to speak Spanish, but you're talking in English. I said, no, I'm not. And just you are. So I didn't realize. To me, I was talking a lot of that to them in Spanish, and I was talking Spanglish or English. Because,
interesting.
Yeah. So sometimes we don't realize what we're doing until somebody points it out. So if somebody points something out, don't take it to, like, oh, they're criticizing. No, use it as a teaching tool. I had no idea. I had no idea that I was talking so much English.
Exactly. Well, let's talk about movement, because I think this is something that's really interesting in this culture where we have the sedentary lifestyle being the normal, and that is really becoming, even for people that work in exercise, they say, I schedule my exercise. And I think there are a lot of parents that I know that said, I exercise for 30 minutes a day. Yay for me. Yes, that is a yay for you. But when that is the only form of exercise that you're getting, and you're modeling that for your kids, then you're forgetting that the most vibrant older people are the ones that integrate exercise and movement into their whole life. And it's not like a chore. It's like part of life.
I get to do it.
Exactly.
I get to move, and I get to be. And then with the kids, that they're always such a wonderful opportunity to include them. I love to see parents, walking with the kids, or I always tell the parents, teach them a game that you like to do when you were a kid. Like whatever, you like soccer, or you like just basketball, hooping, anything simple, just have fun with them. It's not exercise, we're having fun as a family. And again, looking for opportunities to do anything in the house that is you're cooking, you're putting music and you're dancing to it, you know?
Yeah, you're
So
walking the dog.
yes.
Integrating movement throughout, I think, is really important, and not looking at exercise as a punishment. Because so often
Yes.
adults, especially if you're
Yes.
an adult, a parent that's working to shape a new habit, you might have a different perspective of exercise. But whatever you think exercise is, so often our kids start to think that as well. Oh my God, I had to go to the gym. I was dragging myself to the
Yes.
gym, and I'd say I got to go to the gym.
Exactly.
I had
got
the
to do
chance.
this.
I had the time to go to the gym. I was so lucky.
Mm-hmm.
And, and I feel that way. Not everyone will, but
No.
when you lead with that language,
Yes.
then that's showing an example of like, oh, it's a privilege. And it really is.
Yeah, and it truly is. Many people will, love to be able to do that, and they can't. So it is a
Exactly.
privilege.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, thinking about the way that we talk about rest as well kind of goes along with this. And I'm guilty of this because no rest for the weary. I mean, I don't slow down with my ADHD. I don't slow down very easily, but I also I have a little bit of a guilt, which I've been working for a long time to overcome about resting. But that trickles down into my parenting as well. Like, I'm like, what are you doing? You're not doing anything? Okay, here's something for you to do. And that's not always the healthiest.
I can identify with that as well.
Yeah.
Like sitting and doing nothing is like wasting your life in there, like doing nothing. Yes.
For sure.
And in one of the most, especially talking about kids, one of the most important times in their development is boredom.
Yeah, free time.
Nothing. And then, but if they see that you
without technology, by the way, that's not.
Yes,
that's not,
boredom. Just figuring it out on your own, and more creative thoughts and more the development of the brain really needs that. So if we do not emphasize that it's okay. I remember when, the three were little, and I've always been a full-time parent, and I always longed for doing nothing. I remember and then the time came, like the kids were somebody was going to bring them or something, and I have 30 minutes, and I would sit in my house, and I was like, but I want to do something while they come here. I cannot just sit here doing nothing.
Yeah.
And I wanted that so badly.
So I like doing something so much that my something is called meditation. I have to name it. My nothing is called meditation. Well, I'm still doing something, but I've worked really hard to try to train myself that it's okay to do that.
Oh, it's so important.
It's so important.
It's so important to stop. And through the day too. I'm sorry, I interrupted. Yeah. So through the day, having just micro moments of stopping, it helps your brain to reset. It's like a reset button.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So the power of the pause. We should teach our children that, but we should actually actively do that ourselves.
Yes.
So something that's interesting is. I quit when things get tough. Oh, this is a hard one because I think a lot of parents will quit on themselves or on an activity when it gets challenging, and they may not be saying it, but if it's a repetitive pattern for a parent, it likely is something that you're modeling for your kids. And that's where we want resilient children that feel capable, and they know that hard things are actually good for them in many ways, not always, but most of the time.
I loved a study that I saw, and I don't have it here, I didn't pull it, on that they did these kids that love drawing because naturally they love drawing. And then they started praising those kids and doing kind of like a reward. If you do this pretty drawing, we're gonna give you something, or just praising, oh my goodness, you did such a good job. And that shifted the dynamic. Like, I'm doing this for a reason, not just for fun. And it took the drive, the motivation to do it just for fun. And it was very sad to see that it doesn't, instead of validating, or like, oh, okay, yeah, oh, did you do, oh, wow, it was hard for you to do that. Tell me about this. It is a different thing than, same thing with the grades. Sometimes some kids have self-motivated to have good grades, but sometimes the parents put it to another level, and it becomes a chore. It becomes something that I have to do, and it takes that drive from them. So it's important to realize that we're doing that that and this is where boredom also comes in, in place. Like, let them do things that they want to do just because. And then you don't have to feel like you have to praise everything that they do.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's more important to praise their effort or asking them, so tell me about this. What did you do? And what do you think about this? And how did you came to this conclusion or whatever? But asking and being curious about the process that they did more than automatically think that they're going to be feeling good for for just.
And that's interesting. I think also as an adult, vocalizing when you have struggles in your family situation, maybe like I've been trying to do some things with AI, and I've been, creating an agent, which is, if you've done it, it's a really interesting process. But there's levels of frustration because I'm learning something new, and I'm actually sharing that with my daughter because I want her to see that I'm not giving up. No, I will not give up. But it's frustrating because I'm not getting the outcome that I necessarily want. But it's important for me to share that, but then also share, but I'm not going to give up, because that's then they're showing them the power of resilience.
And that's exactly what I said at the beginning. Like, I'm teaching my kids now from a different perspective. I want to be healthy. This is what I owe to them. My health is something that my legacy to them, like kind of like they don't have to take care of me. Mom can do these things. Mom is creative and doing all these other things. And I want them to learn that they're capable of doing that type of thing. So it is the same thing as learning. Yeah, it's hard. I mean, opening my business was, so hard.
Oh, yeah.
So scary.
Being an adult is hard.
So difficult. But because it was hard and it was scary, that didn't mean that I have to quit. Yeah. And it's okay to quit sometimes.
Well, it is. And figuring out the two of them. And I think the last one, which we only have a moment to touch into, is I nourish myself. I'd make the easy choice the right choice. And that, and that so often comes into the food component. So we're going to get fast food because it's the easiest thing to do.
Yes.
Or I'm going to, whatever the choice is, give you your technology because it's the easiest thing to do. Sometimes the easiest choice is not the best choice. And when we're constantly as adults making the easiest choice, and that connects to our other component of like, I don't do hard things as an adult, then your kids will say, well, I don't do hard things. That's too hard.
Yes. So and then it's interesting now. Kids are not even wanting to read long format because life is so fast, and we're losing that. The joy of reading a big book. It's so sad.
Yeah,
it's so sad. So in those times of boredom, kids that like to read. Kids that have reading issues, obviously it's going to be hard for them to do that. They can do other stuff. But kids that are good readers, it kind of like gives them the drive to, when they have the opportunity to do that. And, like just the opportunity, just be bored and you have a book.
Oh, and that's interesting you say that because I have both my parents are voracious readers, and they never forced reading on me. I actually am mildly dyslexic. It comes with my ADHD, and so it was a struggle. But then later in life, I'm like, I love to read, and I'm fortunate to have a daughter that loved to read. When she was really young, I would just put a book in front of her and say, this is your only option. And she could decide to sit and do nothing, or she could read. And she's since fallen really in love with books, which I feel blessed about. But leading by example, that is a really excellent thing that I've had the privilege of having in my life.
Yes.
So let's just quickly recap, and then you can do your Spanish recap.
Okay.
We did touch about, how model based on being conscientious of your language and what you're doing on an everyday basis is super important. So we went over our screen time and how our reaction to screen time and how it impacts our children. We went over our stress reduction, and that's sometimes what we're choosing to reduce our stress is not the healthiest choice. Alcohol, technology, and there might be some other alternatives. We also reviewed our internal language, our internal dialogue, and how that impacts us. We looked at how we deal with difficult things and what, as parents, we can do to help empower our children to be resilient and do difficult things.
And ask for help.
Ask for help.
Ask for help.
Yes.
Yeah. And then if you have to quit, you have to quit, but what did I learn from that? Why did I have to quit? How can I do it better next time? Or what did I learn? It's very powerful if you have to quit something. Maybe you didn't have the tools. Well, next time we can do it this other way. So it's still, as long as it's a learning opportunity.
And then we also looked at how we talk about certain food and may put value judgments on it, and how we have to be very aware of that. And we're, wanting to reshape it as what's going to nourish me into being the best version of myself. And that is also a conversation that we have with ourselves as parents, first and foremost, before we're telling our children. Anything else before we pop into our beautiful Spanish recap?
I don't know. I think that's it. That summarizes pretty good. I have to think, how am I going to say all this in Spanish in like a few minutes? That's the only thing I'm thinking. So, in Spanish, en español. Ok, hablamos de lo que los niños aprenden de nosotros sin que nosotros le digamos que que aprendían eso. Por ejemplo, es lo que le decimos con nuestros gestos, con nuestras palabras que nos hablamos a nosotros mismos. A veces somos los peores enemigos y nos decimos cosas que no son muy bonitas. Yo soy estúpido o lo que sea, de la manera en que nos tratamos. Ellos aprenden las palabras que nosotros le decimos, ellos la internalizan como es su lenguaje. Entonces, decirnos no solamente cómo nos hablamos, sino cómo le hablamos a ellos. Por ejemplo, hablamos de cómo comer comida rápida o cómo el postre es lo más importante de la comida. Si te comes el brócoli, pues te puedes comer la galletita. Pues la galleta es lo más importante porque tengo que comerme esto para pasar aquello. Significa que no es lo que yo estoy comiendo, no es importante, lo importante es el postre. Y buscar la manera de que todo sea, no hay comida mala, no hay comida buena, es la comida. Esto es lo que hay y no hay que poner una comida por encima de otra. Porque es más importante. Por ejemplo, hablamos de lo importante de movimiento. Mira, si están cocinando, pon música de salsa, se ponen a bailar y eso es movimiento. Movimiento que sea divertido, no que sea una opción de que tengo que ir al gimnasio. Y ellos aprenden que hacer ejercicio parece que no es muy bueno. Pero tener diversión cuando uno está cocinando, por ejemplo, eso es bueno. Descansar. A veces los papás dicen, que si yo no tengo tiempo para descansar. El aburrimiento es una de las maneras más importantes para el desarrollo de la mente del niño. Que ellos aprendan que estar aburrido no es malo. Hay que aprender a buscar cosas que hacer en esos momentos de aburrimiento y eso ayuda al desarrollo del cerebro. Y yo creo que eso es suficiente porque eres mucho lo que hablamos.
Once again, beautiful. So thank you. Thank you for joining us for this. Thank you for joining us for this little blooper here, and for an episode where we were really looking at the difficulties that we encounter as parents, and sometimes do as I say, not as I do. But let's turn it into do as I do.
Yes.
And so looking without judgment at what the decisions you make as parents and caregivers, and even grandparents if you're spending a lot of time with your grandchildren.
And give yourself grace. It's not easy. But it can be done. It's just we learn. Just keep learning. This didn't work. And then be very aware of it and learning to give yourself grace.
Absolutely.
It goes a long way.
And continue to be curious and continue to grow. And we can't thank you enough for spending your time with us. Once again, this was another episode of The Compass Method, and I'm Chelsea Dye.
I'm Dr. Yolanda Rivera-Caudill. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Check the show notes for more information about purpose and plants and how we can bring us to your organization. Cheers to you.